Good morning, everyone. So I have a couple of beds to fill. So if you haven't seen before, here I have like probably about a 10 or 12 foot bed that I need to fill. And then yesterday I added another bed along the back. That one's about 15 foot. With that being said, I do have about 13 varieties here that I'm going to be filling this space with. So really quickly, we will just go over all of the varieties that I'm going to be planting, and then I'm going to be showing you where I'm going to be planting them and how, because I have a couple of different ideas for a lot of these. So first of all, I just want to touch on the subject of cross-pollination. I've actually broken up my seeds into different categories based on the subject, because I want to try and spread these out so that there's less of a chance that they are going to be cross-pollinated. Now, with that being said, technically, you need to have things like a mile apart for there to be no chance of cross-pollination, but typically this method works pretty well for me, and these are things that if they cross, it's not a big deal anyway. And on top of that, you can take additional measures like placing a mesh bag over the flower after it's pollinated to ensure that it does not get cross-pollinated. So first of all, we are going to talk about the families, what it means, and why you should separate your seeds like this if you're worried about this as well. So if you are not sure what the scientific name for your variety is, you can just give that a quick Google. So I have several that just have little packets like this, absolutely no care on there or instructions, additional information whatsoever. So what you'll want to do is just look up the variety and say scientific name. So what that will give you depends on what you're growing. So for example, here I have honey nut squash, and the scientific name for it is Cucurbita moschata. So the honey nut squash will not cross with this, which is a table queen acorn squash. So even though these are both squashes and they are both winter squash, they will not cross because they are in different families. This winter squash is in the Cucurbis pepo family, and forgive me, I'm probably going to butcher some of these names, but I think that you'll kind of get the general idea when we're going over this. So first off, since we already talked about it a bit, we will start with the Cucurbita moschata. So for the honey nut squash, the description on this is a mini butternut, one of the best tasting squash of all time. The fruit reaches just 4 to 5 inches long. It is a single serving size and quicker to roast whole. So this one was bred by renowned vegetable breeder Michael Mazurek of Cornell and taste trialed by famous chef Dan Barber. So I have not tried this one before. I've tried the Burpees Butterbush, and that one was a small variety, and it took up a lot less space. So if you don't have a lot of space, I would definitely recommend that variety, although I do not have seeds for it this year. So I'm excited to try this one. It's supposed to be one of the sweetest of the butternut family. So next we will go ahead and move on to the Waltham butternut squash. So this is actually a more classic variety. So the Waltham butternut is the most popular winter squash on the market because of its amazing quality and flavor. So it is great for the homesteader as it stores for a very long time. With a peanut-shaped uniformity, larger yield, and rich flavor, these tan fruits grow 8 to 10 inches long. So that's like twice the size of the honey nut. These are said to have a deep orange interior, sweet, creamy, and flavorful. So these are delicious steamed, boiled, or baked. So these are pretty much going to be kind of interchangeable for me. The main differences between these two are the honey nut are supposed to be sweeter and more personal sized, and the Waltham butternut squash are supposed to be larger. So you could have these at like family events or even sell these if you're interested in that. Now, the last variety that I have in the Cucurbita moschata family is going to be the fairy tale pumpkin. So this one is also another variety that's supposed to store for a very long time. I think that this one said that it would store up to 9 months if kept properly. So that is the main reason that I chose this pumpkin variety, because I had several, but I'm growing 3 this year. And this is actually the only one that is in this family. So I can plant this one right beside another pumpkin variety and it will not cross. I will insert a picture since I don't have it on the packet here. This is also one that is great for eating. So you can use this one as a pie pumpkin, and it's going to have a really smooth flesh, and you can just bake it and use it interchangeably as a squash as well. So I wouldn't say that it is as sweet as the other 2 varieties that I'm going to be growing, but this is going to be a great storing and also pie and baking option. Now the next family that we are going to do is the Cucurbita pepo. So in this family, we are going to have, again, the table queen acorn squash. So I've never grown this variety, but it is supposed to be extremely prolific. And from the vine here, it looks very similar to kind of like a zucchini vine to me. So it does say that the vines on this one get to be about 6 foot, so it does get large. So acorn squash is the most popular winter squash, and now it needs less room to grow with the award-winning bush variety table queen acorn. Plants bear lots of 6-inch long, 5-inch wide fruits with small seed cavities and moist golden flesh. So it is unbeatable when baked and can be stored for several months. So it does say that it is a bush variety, but it's also saying that it requires 6-foot spacing. So I'm going to be I am going to be following more of a square foot method this year, and I'm going to be trimming a lot of things. So I'm going to be ignoring a lot of the spacing rules, but I'll explain how I'm going to be planting everything here in a few minutes. But I'm excited to grow this one, and I'm going to give it a good amount of space like I would any of these other squash, and we'll see how this one grows, or if it's like truly a bush variety. Now the next one in the pepo family is going to be the sugar pie pumpkin. I have grown this pumpkin before, and it was probably like the smoothest, like sweet tasting pumpkin that I had ever tried in terms of that. So I'll be happy to grow this one again. The fruits on these get to be, I believe, like 4 to 8 pounds. So they're relatively small, and they'll only store like maybe up to 4 months. So this is one that you'll want to preserve more quickly than, say, the fairy tale pumpkin, which is supposed to store for up to 9 months. Now the last one in our Cucurbita pepo family is going to be the winter luxury pumpkin. So this 1893 variety is the most sought after culinary pumpkin in the world because of its absolutely fiberless flesh. So once baked, the winter luxury pumpkin mashes into a creamy blend without additional ingredients. So it's perfect for pies and other baking endeavors. Unlike many heirloom varieties, the winter luxury does not keep long, so you have to freeze or can quick. So this is pretty much the same as the sugar pie pumpkin. So it is 105 days until maturity, so that's about the same on the other pumpkins as well. So they do need 3 to 4 months. And just another thing on the pumpkins while I'm talking about them, you can actually bury the vines on your pumpkins if you would like, and they will readily root, more so than melons. So if you have the choice and you only have one trellis and one in-ground spot, put your pumpkins on the in-ground spot and the melons on the trellis. But I'm going to be trellising all of them. I'm not going to be too concerned about that this year because I'm a little bit limited on space compared to what I usually do. Okay, so the next packet here, this is going to be the Cucumis sativus family. So I actually planted a couple of other cucumber seeds in the last video, so that I did planting seeds. So that was the alphabaic cucumber, and then the Boston pickling cucumber. So they were also in the same family. So those two are planted right beside each other. So they do have a good chance of cross-pollinating, but I don't really care with those. And if they do cross-pollinate, it would probably be a heck of a cross. So this is a larger variety. This is the China jade cucumber. So stunning jade-colored flesh and unmatched sweet flavor make this a superb snacking cucumber. A popular cucumber from northern China, it grows well in the garden and the greenhouse. Long, slender, thin-skinned fruit will develop without pollination, making seedless and burpless cuke. So this is a good variety to grow in a greenhouse because this is open pollinated. You don't have to have any pollinators coming in. It is self-pollinating. So you can grow this plant by itself and do absolutely nothing, and it's just going to produce the fruit. Now, a little bit about this cucumber. I did actually grow this one year, and these are pretty similar to an English cucumber, but I would say I slightly prefer these just because I feel like the color is a little bit richer, and I don't know, I just like it. It's not really that much of a difference. So next we're going to be moving on to the Cucumis melon family. So this is a Kajori melon. It was collected by Joseph Simcox in India. It's an unusual yet beautiful copper red fruit striped with green and cream. It has very sweet and pale flesh. So this is in more of like a honeydew family. So I'm mostly growing this because I think it's going to be really pretty, and I think it'll be a nice flavor to have because I'm planning on freezing a lot of the melons and stuff to use for smoothies, popsicles, and all that. So the next one that we have in that family is going to be the Armenian yard-long cucumber. So the classic Armenian cucumber, which is actually a melon genetically, it is light green, mild tasting, deeply ribbed fruit yields uniform fluted sizes. So you can harvest these at 15 inches long. So if you're looking for a cucumber that's going to do all right in the heat and you're going to be able to leave it for a couple of days and not have to worry about harvest, this seems like a good one. And then on top of that, if you do wait too long, you've just got a melon. So hands down, this seems like a really good option. I grew this one year, but I only got one from it because the deer came through and ate it. And it was good. The next family that we have is the Citrullus lanatus family. So this is a lemon drop watermelon. So, like striking gold, this glorious gilded watermelon is pocket-sized with a vigorous growing habit. Each vine blossoms and provides 1 to 2 pound fruit with flavor that is unparalleled, candy sweet, and crisp textured. So I've never grown this. I've never grown this one, but I've had the seed since 2023. So I'll be happy to try these this year and see how it compares to a regular watermelon, because I've only ever tried like the red watermelons. I haven't tried any of the orange varieties either. So that will be on my list for next year though. So the next one in that family is actually a sugar baby watermelon, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Its name describes the melon perfectly. Sugar baby's flesh is very sweet, so the fruit grows to be about 8 pounds, which is just right for the refrigerator. It's an early season variety that's high in vitamins A, B, and C. So again, I'm going to be growing all of these on a trellis to save room. And then I did not look up the scientific name for my nasturtium here. I apologize, but I have two different types. So both of these are tall varieties, which are vining varieties that are going to get a height or a length of 5 feet. So I'm planting these pretty much all around the chicken wire in with the melon plants so that I can have some flowers there to attract pollinators. And also I think it's going to be really pretty. And then I also have a variegated version. So I think that I'm going to do the variegated version over on the bed that's not against the chicken wire. So I do have that one there that we are actually going to come through and put in some support poles, and we're going to add in some shorter chicken wire trellis there. So I'm going to actually plant the seeds before doing that. You can actually have your trellis ready to go before you plant your seeds. That is going to be more to your benefit, but we are supposed to be getting rain for about the next week every single day. So I just want to make sure that I have the seeds planted, and if we can't get the trellis done today, then I will at least have my seeds started and I can come back and do that later. Okay, so now we will just move on to laying out where everything is going to go, and I'll explain a little bit about how I'm going to be growing these efficiently. So this is the bed that I need to come through and do the trellis on. So I am going to trellis probably the more heavy varieties here, because I think it's going to be a little bit easier for me to get around and tie them up versus trying to get around the outside of this fence. So what I am going to begin here is the fairy tale pumpkin. So I'm going to do my fairy tale pumpkin here, and when you plant your pumpkins, these are ones that you should hill and probably do like 3 or 4 seeds in a hill. So what I'm going to do is put the trellis right here through the middle so that I can plant on both sides. And I'm going to be doing the same variety on both sides so that I can try and keep it straight, and I know that the vines are going to mix through from side to side. So my hope is I'll be able to keep like my pumpkins here and then a melon here and so on. So since I am going to be following more of a square foot method this year, I'm going to do a hill here, and then probably 2 feet away I'm going to do another hill. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I may stagger them. So I may stagger the hills, or I may just line them up perfectly. I don't think it's going to matter too much in the end. So the first one on this is going to be the fairy tale pumpkin, and now I'm just going to list out the varieties here since I've explained the process for this bed. Alright, so we've done the fairy tale pumpkin here, and it is going to have a space of about, we'll say, 3 to 4 feet to do its thing. And then, so that was in the Cucurbita machata family. So we don't want to put another thing in the same family next to it, or it could have a chance of cross-pollinating, or at least a higher chance. There is still a chance, since I'm not being super protective with these. Now, I'm doing heavier varieties here, and that does include this year the Walton butternut squash, which again gets up to about 8 foot, which again gets up to about like 8 pounds. So I'm going to actually go all the way to the other end here, and I'll do the same thing. I'll give it about a 4 foot span. So that gives me the option to do 2 to even 3 more varieties here, depending on how tightly I want to squeeze this. Now again, so this bed gets full sun all day as well. It gets slightly more sun than the back of the fence. So another thing to think about is what are the light requirements on the seeds that I'm planting. So there are some things here that appreciate more light than others, like the melons appreciate more light than the cucumbers. So so what I'm going to do next after the fairy tale pumpkin is going to be the sugar baby watermelon. And then after that, I'm going to do the winter luxury pumpkin. And again, I could plant that winter luxury pumpkin right beside the fairy tale pumpkin because they're in different families and they will not cross-pollinate. And then I've actually changed my mind. I want to move my butternut to this end and the fairy tale pumpkins to that end. Now I feel like I could squeeze another variety there on the end, but I'm going to lay these out on the back fence first and see what we're left with. So this end here will get more shaded as the day goes, and that end will have more light. So on this end, I'm going to start with something that appreciates shade in the afternoon. So here we'll do the China Jade cucumber. And I just wanted to point out again that I could do the Armenian yard long cucumber right beside the China Jade cucumber because they are in different families. So you've got Cucumis sativa and then Cucumis mellow here. I am actually going to do that. So we've got China Jade cucumber, Armenian yard long cucumber. And I'm just going about every 2 to 3 feet and dropping a packet of seeds. Next, we're going to do the Table Queen acorn winter squash. And then next to that, I'm going to go ahead and do the lemon drop watermelon because we're getting close to the end here. And so I have my sugar baby watermelons over here. So I'm going to try to keep them a little bit far away because those two will cross-pollinate. Next, we'll do the honey nut squash. That's another winter squash variety. And we'll do a Kajari melon here. That'll be nice to have here in the entryway because you'll walk right in and you'll see this really pretty amount of color as the season goes on. So I am left with the sugar pie pumpkins, and so I'm going to take these over here with the heavier stuff. So for my sugar pie pumpkins, I'm actually just going to take and plop them right down here between the fairy tale pumpkins and the winter luxury pumpkins. So these will have a chance of cross-pollinating with the winter luxury pumpkins, but honestly, that's another one that I'm not mad about because I think they're going to essentially be the same thing in terms of taste and storage. And then I'm going to take and grow the variegated nasturtiums. Again, these are tall single, so that means that they are going to vine up to 5 feet. Do you see the height there? So these will climb or vine down, so you can grow these in a hanging pot too, and they'll be really pretty. All right, so variegated on this bed, and then on the outsides, I'm going to do just the regular nasturtium, which is also the tall kind, but it's just not variegated. All right, and then I just wanted to point out a couple of things about a lot of these seeds. So like the cucumber type varieties, they're typically spaced 18 to 36 inches apart. And then mini melons, they usually require 2 to 3 feet for the mounds. So you can take and do with that what you will. I don't really pay an awfully lot of attention to the plant spacing because I'll trim stuff if I need to. I really follow more along guidelines of square foot methods, and I do a lot of interplanting too. So today I'll just be planting the seeds, but I'll come back at a later time and do marigolds, herbs, and that kind of thing. So after everything is all said and done, it looks like the spacing on each of the types of the varieties that I'm going to be doing all around is about 3 feet. And with that being said, I am going to be doing some trimming as needed because with this being a kind of a shaded area and very humid, it's really easy for there to be blight when there's a lot of weeds or things like that. So I'm going to try to keep everything nice for as long as we can, and we'll see what kind of harvest we get here. All right, well, it is starting to sprinkle a little bit now, so I'm going to have to hurry and get these seeds into the ground. I think you guys get the idea for the planting. If you do have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a great day. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So here I'll be talking about content surrounding gardening, house plants, cooking, and canning. And someone did ask recently if I would be talking about stuff like making salves and oils and stuff. So I have a lot of herbs, and we'll be doing all kinds of infusions and junk like that. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye!